Hello, my name is Liam, and today I'm going to be talking about Lost Season 1, Episode 5, titled White Rabbit. And before I get into this, I'd just like to say that this video is going to have spoilers, not just for this episode, but, probably for the entire show of Lost. Just wanted to get that out of the way, and, so this episode is Jack's first flashback episode. And, I thought this was a pretty good episode. It's interesting development into Jack's character. His relationship with his father is just kind of... We just start to touch on this. We just start to touch on that in this episode, his relationship. Because the flashbacks, it's really not... The flashbacks aren't really about his father. The flashbacks are really more about him trying to find his father in Australia, which is very similar to what he's trying to do on the island, chasing after the vision of his father that he's been seeing. On the island, there are kind of like two storylines going on. There's usually like two storylines like that. The main storyline would of course be Jack following his father into the jungle, and Jack dealing with finally accepting a leadership role amongst the group. And I say the other storyline would be this water crisis going on, which really the water situation does take up a much larger part of the episode, but since this is Jack's episode, it's about him, his story. I would say what he's going through is more important to the episode overall, not just for the episode, but for as a whole, Jack's interaction with who we eventually find out is the smoke monster, who later on claims that he was appearing to Jack to help Jack find the water, find the caves. Interestingly enough, it's the caves that the smoke monster spent a good portion of his life living in. That's an interesting connection there. I mean, I'm not completely sure if that was his true intention, just helping Jack find water, because I think the smoke monster is clearly he's playing a long game here. He's working all the pieces. He's trying to see. I think he's most likely seeing how Jack can work into his plans to get what he wants. And we also, what's nice in this episode, we get some good interaction between the characters of Jack and Locke. I think the relationship between Jack and Locke is one of the most important relationships in the show. A lot of story is driven by these two characters, not just together, of course, but separately. We got Locke with the hatch, Jack in the future seasons continues to be an important player on the island. But it's a very interesting beginning to the Jack and Locke relationship. You don't really see from this point how it might veer off so bad as it does later on. Later on in season 1 even. The relationship between Jack and Locke is really, it's strained from the whole situation with Boone's death. That hurts it very badly. And then, Locke and the hatch, that, like, he loses all credibility with Jack, I think. And then later on in season 3, he kills Naomi, blows up the submarine. But their relationship, it really becomes significant, I think, in you see that season 5 and season 6, and a little bit in season 4 they start going into that, when Locke actually leaves the island to try and bring Jack and everybody back. It's not until Locke's death that Jack starts believing in what Locke has been preaching this entire time. And then finally, it all comes to the end in season 6, when you got the smoke monster now using the image of Locke, and Jack saying stuff like how Locke was right the entire time and he wishes he could have said that to him while he was still alive. I think that's interesting. But when you look at their relationship in this episode, Jack almost views Locke differently than he does going forward. He almost views him as someone who might have some type of idea what's going on here. You know, someone who might have his stuff together, I think. So that's interesting. And then another thing I want to talk about was Jack's father, Christian Shepherd. When I think about it, he's a very interesting character, Christian. He's a character that I would have liked to know a little bit more about. I think maybe you could have somehow worked like a flashback episode for him, nothing too like major character-wise, just to get a little insight to his character, how he is the way he is. I think like when we get on to season 3, they start having unnecessary flashbacks. It's maybe a little too much information about these people past. Like, in season 3 we have an episode, a flashback devoted to how Jack got his tattoos. It's this. I think by the time we get to season 3, characters like Jack and Kate and Saeed, they get these unnecessary flashbacks that we didn't really need. We could have. I think it would have been interesting to pull back a little bit and focus on maybe some of these supporting characters like Christian, who, obviously aren't main characters, but Christian is a very important character in this show. He is upgraded to a main character for the finale, but he is a huge part of, in my opinion, he's a huge part of the show, not just for Jack's storyline. He interacts with Sawyer, he interacts with Ana Lucia. He's obviously Claire's father too. But looking at Christian, it really shows why Jack is the way he is. And I was thinking about something. And about the story that he tells him, the story that he tells Jack in the beginning about the boy who was on the operating table who died. See, Christian says something to Jack like, he tells him not to try because when he fails, and he will fail, he doesn't have what it takes. I think Jack might have spent most of his life misinterpreting his words, because I don't think he meant when he fails as if he's going to fail, as if he's not good enough to succeed. He says that failing is inevitable, that at some point you're going to fail. I think what he's saying Jack's problem is that Jack won't be able to deal with that failure. That he's going to take it too hard, because I'm not a doctor, but I can assume that the profession of a doctor would be very tough to deal with, seeing, because you're not going to save everybody. You're not going to. Sometimes you are going to fail people. Sometimes people are going to die. And we see that with Jack on the island. In the very beginning of the episode, he fails to save the woman drowning, and even that affects him throughout this episode. And then going forward, everybody we lose on the show affects Jack a lot, especially when he's involved with it, like Boone. In his mind, yes, he's angry that Locke, didn't tell didn't tell him about what happened to Boone. But in Jack's mind, Boone was his failure. You know, we start again with, you know, Libby and Charlie and Ana Lucia and all these other characters who are going to die in the future, that Jack thinks he fails. He fails them. And he doesn't really, like, get over this until about season 5. And season 5 he gets over that, but he gets over that a little bit too well, and that starts causing problems. And then he loses someone else again. He loses Juliet, and Saeed almost dies, or does die. So really, he really comes completely around by the time of season 6. So well, I think that's about all I got to say about season 1, episode 5. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I want to talk about. I'll see you later.